subject and a verb. It must have a subject and a verb. And there are different kinds of clauses. We have a main clause, okay? Main clause. This is a complete sentence. It doesn't need anything else. It can exist all by itself. It's a main sentence. It has a subject and a verb because it's a clause. And here are two examples of main clauses. We have Anne works at a camp. And another one is, where is Anne? Now, both these sentences have a subject, Anne, and this is the subject, where, and the verb, works and is. So they are both complete sentences, therefore they are both main clauses. They're called main. Sometimes you can call them independent clause. A main clause or an independent clause. Now, a dependent clause is not a complete sentence. Dependent clause. And this is not a complete sentence. Okay? It must be connected to a main clause. It cannot exist only on its own. So it must be connected to a main clause. It usually begins with a question word, but it isn't necessarily a question. Let's look at one example here. The camp where Anne works is near a lake. Okay, the camp where Anne works is near a lake. Now, where Anne works, this is the dependent clause. It's a bit of a funny dependent clause. Okay? It's not a complete sentence. It's not a question. It begins with a question word, but it's not a complete sentence, and it needs to be connected to this, which is the main clause. The camp is near a lake. It's a complete sentence. The camp is near a lake. This is our main clause. Right. It's a sentence. It can be on its own. One more example. When I went to the tent, Ashley was sleeping. When I went to the tent, Ashley was sleeping. Now, when I went to the tent is our dependent clause. And the main clause, you can probably guess this one, Ashley was sleeping. Dependent clause with a D, main clause with an M. Okay, let's practice this now. Does everyone understand what a clause is?
Sure. A clause has a subject and a verb. It can be a main clause that is a sentence, or it can be a dependent clause that isn't a sentence. And a dependent clause must have a main clause to be a sentence.
Wow, you're really good today, Lewis.
Always I am.
What happened?
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe I fell in love.
Maybe you did. Okay. Hopefully not with me, though.
No, I hope so.
Okay. Monica, what's the main clause, what's the dependent clause in this sentence? I didn't know which camp she was at.
Which camp she was at is the dependent clause.
Wonderful. What's the main clause in this sentence, Rosa? I heard Ken when he entered the tent.
I heard Ken is the main clause. It's a sentence.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so now we understand what main clauses and dependent clauses are. It's time to look at noun clauses, so please take a look at these sentences. I don't know why the oars are missing. Hank couldn't hear what the camp director said. Does Dan know when the new stakes will arrive? Okay, I need some space for this, so let's clean the board, and then we'll look at noun clauses. Okay, a noun clause A noun clause is a subject, or we can use a noun clause as a subject or as an object. In the first sentence, why the oars are missing. This is a noun clause, and it is the object of the verb know. I don't know why the oars are missing. Okay, the second sentence, what the camp director said. What the camp director said. This is a noun clause, and it is the object of the verb hear. The sentence was, Hank couldn't hear what the camp director said. So this is the object of the verb hear. In the third sentence, when the stakes will arrive, this is also a noun clause, and this is the object of the verb know. Does Dan know when the stakes will arrive? That's the object. Now, in each of these sentences, the noun clause begins with a question word, but it's not a question. In a noun clause, the subject comes before the verb. So that means we don't use question word order. In a noun clause, we don't use question word order. This is not a question. When the stakes will arrive is not a question. The question would be, when will the stakes arrive? So it's not a question. We don't use question word order. Subject comes before the verb. Let's look at some sentences where the noun clause is used as a subject now. Where the camp was surprised me. What the camp director should do is obvious. In the first sentence, this is a noun clause, and in this sentence it's the subject. It comes before the verb surprise. Where the camp was surprised me. This is our subject of the verb surprise. Yeah. And the second sentence, we have what the camp director should do. What the camp director should do. And this is the subject of the verb is. Subject of is. What the camp director should do, subject of the verb is. What the camp director should do is obvious. And remember, a question word is still used to begin the noun clause when it's a subject. Okay, let's practice this now. Monica, tell me about your camp director.
He was a real nice guy, and Krista really liked him. What he did at the lake really shocked me. He put on a bikini and swam to the raft.
Wow, he must have been crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, Lewis, tell me about the camps in Portugal.
I don't know who runs them. I have never been to one.
Okay. Rosa, how about your director? What about him?
I never knew who he was. There were about 1,000 children at our camp. It was very big.
I guess so. Okay. Right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And what I want you to do now is look and listen. Look and listen. Fred must learn where the grills are kept. Ron couldn't hear what the lifeguard said. Does she know